When Dwayne Johnson's daughter freezes mid-performance at her school talent show, the Hollywood giant doesn't just sit in the crowd, he steps up in a way that steals the show. What happens next leaves every parent, kid, and teacher stunned. The auditorium at Pacific Palms Middle School was packed, the air thick with nervous excitement. Folding chairs creaked under parents clutching phones, ready to record their kid's big moment. Dwayne Johnson sat near the front, his 6 feet 5 inches frame barely fitting in the plastic seat, his black hoodie doing little to hide his identity. Whispers rippled through the crowd, "Is that The Rock?" But his eyes were locked on the stage, where his youngest daughter, Tiana, age 10, was set to perform a song she'd been practicing for weeks. Tiana had begged him to come, her brown eyes wide with pride when she told him about her solo in the school talent show. Dwayne had rearranged his schedule, pushing back a script read to be there. He knew how much this meant to her, her first time singing in front of a crowd, her small voice carrying dreams bigger than the stage. He clapped loudly when her name was announced, his grin wide, but his stomach knotted with a parent's quiet worry. The stage lights hit Tiana, her sparkly blue dress catching the glow. She gripped the microphone, her smile faltering as the music started, a soft pop ballad she'd chosen herself. The first few notes came out strong, her voice clear, but then she froze. Her eyes widened, scanning the crowd, the lyrics gone from her mind. The music looped, unforgiving, and a murmur ran through the audience. A kid in the back giggled, and Dwayne's jaw tightened. He knew that look on Tiana's face, panic, the kind that could crush a kid's confidence. He'd felt it himself, years ago, stepping into a wrestling ring for the first time, the crowd's eyes like weights. Tiana's hands shook, the mic slipping slightly, and the music played on, exposing her silence. The teacher at the side of the stage started to move, but Dwayne was faster. He stood, his movement drawing every eye in the room. "Hold up," he said, his voice booming but warm, cutting through the awkward hum. The music stopped, the tech kid in the booth catching his cue. Tiana looked at him, her eyes glassy with unshed tears. Dwayne stepped onto the stage, the floor creaking under his weight, and knelt beside her, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "You got this, Tia," he said, low enough for just her to hear. "You know the words. They're in you." The crowd was silent, phones still up, recording. Tiana nodded, her breath shaky. Dwayne glanced at the teacher, who gave a quick nod, then back at his daughter. "How about we do it together for the first part?" he suggested, loud enough for the audience to hear, his tone light, like it was no big deal. A few parents chuckled, the tension breaking. Tiana's lips twitched into a small smile. He signaled the tech kid to restart the music. The intro played again, and Dwayne stood beside Tiana, holding an imaginary mic, his deep voice joining hers as she started singing. He didn't know all the words, but he faked it, mimicking her melody with a playful hum, his presence steadying her. Tiana's voice grew stronger, the lyrics coming back, and by the chorus, she was singing solo, her eyes bright again. Dwayne stepped back, clapping softly, letting her take the spotlight. The crowd erupted, not just for Tiana but for the dad who'd turned her fear into a moment she'd never forget. He returned to his seat, his heart pounding harder than it ever had on a movie set, knowing this was just the beginning of her shine. Dwayne Johnson settled back into his seat, the auditorium's applause still ringing in his ears. His daughter Tiana stood on stage, her voice now steady, carrying the final notes of her song with a strength that made his chest swell. He'd stepped up when she froze, joining her for a moment to break her panic, but this was her victory. Yet, as the crowd cheered, he noticed something, a flicker of nerves in her eyes, a slight tremble in her hands. The performance was over, but her moment wasn't. Dwayne knew this was bigger than one song, and he wasn't done helping her shine. The story. The Pacific Palms Middle School talent show buzzed with energy, the auditorium a mix of proud parents, fidgeting kids, and teachers trying to keep order. The stage lights dimmed as Tiana took her final bow, her sparkly blue dress catching the glow. The crowd's applause was loud, punctuated by whoops from a few of her classmates in the front row. Dwayne clapped hardest, his massive hands making a sound like a drum, his grin wide but his eyes sharp, watching Tiana's every move. She waved shyly, her smile genuine but fragile, and hurried off stage, disappearing behind the red curtain. Dwayne leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, ignoring the creak of the plastic chair under his 260-pound frame. He'd seen that look on Tiana's face before, not just tonight, but at home when she'd practiced her song, second-guessing every note. She was tough, like him, but she was 10, and the weight of a crowd's eyes could feel like a mountain. He knew she'd be backstage now, probably replaying her freeze-up, wondering if everyone noticed. He'd been there, wrestling arenas, movie sets, moments where doubt could eat you alive. Tiana didn't need a pep talk, she needed her dad to show her she was bigger than her fear. The next act, a kid juggling glow sticks, took the stage, but Dwayne's focus was elsewhere. He caught the eye of Ms. Rivera, Tiana's music teacher, who was standing near the stage steps. She gave him a thumbs up, her expression a mix of gratitude and awe. Dwayne nodded back, then stood, slipping through the aisle with surprising grace for his size. A few parents whispered, "That's The Rock," and phones angled toward him, but he kept moving, his black hoodie doing little to hide his identity. He wasn't here for the spotlight, he was here for Tia. Backstage was chaos, kids adjusting costumes, a teacher shushing a group practicing a dance routine, a guitar kid tuning strings too loudly. Tiana sat on a folding chair in a corner, her knees pulled up, staring at her sneakers. Her mic was clipped to her dress, forgotten, and her hands twisted the hem of her skirt. Dwayne's heart tugged. She looked small, not the bold kid who'd belted out a chorus minutes ago. He crouched in front of her, his voice low and steady. "Hey, superstar. You killed it out there." Tiana looked up, her brown eyes wide, a mix of pride and doubt. "I messed up, Dad. I forgot the words." Everyone saw. Her voice was quiet, almost lost in the backstage din. Dwayne shook his head, his smile gentle but firm. "You think anyone's talking about that? They're talking about how you came back, how you owned that stage. That's what they'll remember." He tapped her knee. "You're stronger than a blank moment, Tia. Way stronger." She bit her lip, not fully convinced. Dwayne knew words alone wouldn't cut it. Tiana was like him, actions spoke louder. He glanced around, spotting a table cluttered with props and a water cooler. "Come on," he said, standing and offering his hand. "Let's do something." Tiana frowned, confused, but took his hand, her small fingers dwarfed in his grip. He led her to a quieter corner, away from the other kids' chatter. "All right," he said, grabbing a water bottle and pretending it was a mic. "You're gonna sing it again. Right here, just for me." Tiana's eyes widened, her head shaking. "Dad, no way. I just did it." Dwayne chuckled, his laugh deep and warm. "Exactly. You did it once, you can do it again. No crowd, no pressure. Just you and your old man." He started humming the melody of her song, deliberately off-key, making her giggle despite herself. Tiana hesitated, then took the water bottle, holding it like a mic. She started singing, her voice soft at first, barely audible over the muffled applause from the auditorium. Dwayne nodded, keeping the beat with a light tap on his thigh, his eyes locked on hers. "Louder, Tia. Let me hear that star power." Her voice grew, the notes clearer, her shoulders relaxing. By the chorus, she was singing with the same fire she'd found on stage, her fear melting away. When she finished, Dwayne clapped, his grin wide. "That's my girl. See? You didn't need me out there. You had it all along." Tiana smiled, a real one this time, and hugged him, her arms barely reaching around his torso. "Thanks, Dad," she mumbled into his hoodie. He hugged her back, careful not to crush her, his heart full. "Anytime, kid." Ms. Rivera approached, her clipboard in hand. "Tiana, you were amazing," she said, then looked at Dwayne. "And you're a natural up there." Dwayne waved it off. "Just backing up my kid." The teacher smiled. "Well, we're doing a group finale, all the performers sing together. Tiana, you in?" Tiana glanced at Dwayne, who gave her a nod. "Go show them how it's done," he said. She nodded, her confidence creeping back, and followed Ms. Rivera to rehearse with the other kids. Dwayne returned to the auditorium, slipping into his seat as the juggling kid finished to polite applause. The show rolled on, dance routines, a shaky violin solo, a comedy skit that got more laughs than it deserved. Dwayne's mind was on Tiana, picturing her backstage, finding her footing. He knew tonight wasn't just about a song, it was about her learning she could fall and get back up. He'd give anything to make sure she carried that with her. The finale came, all the performers crowding the stage for a group song, a cheesy pop anthem about dreams and friendship. Tiana stood near the center, her dress sparkling, her voice blending with the others but distinct to Dwayne's ears. She wasn't hiding now, her eyes bright, her smile real. The crowd clapped along, some parents standing, and Dwayne joined them, his applause drowning out the rest. Tiana caught his eye, waving, and he waved back, his pride louder than any cheer. As the curtain fell, parents surged toward the stage, snapping photos and hugging their kids. Dwayne waited, letting Tiana come to him. She ran over, her face flushed, her mic finally off. "Did you see me in the finale?" she asked, bouncing on her toes. Dwayne laughed, scooping her up in a bear hug. "Saw you? I heard you, superstar. You were the whole show." On the drive home, Tiana chattered about the other acts, her nerves a distant memory. Dwayne listened, his hands steady on the wheel, the LA skyline blurring past. His phone buzzed, his team, probably nagging about tomorrow's gym session or a script deadline. He'd deal with it later. Tonight was Tiana's, and he'd made sure she knew she could conquer anything. The Pacific Palms Middle School auditorium glowed with the aftershock of the talent show's group finale, where Dwayne Johnson's daughter, Tiana, had shown alongside her peers. Dwayne stood among the clapping parents, his applause thunderous, his eyes fixed on Tiana's beaming face. He'd helped her conquer a mid-performance freeze, then bolstered her backstage, but he sensed this night wasn't over. Tiana's confidence was blooming, and he was determined to make sure it took root, not just for tonight but for every stage she'd face. The auditorium was a whirlwind of post-show chaos. Parents swarmed the stage, snapping photos, hugging kids, and swapping proud stories. The air smelled of sweat and cheap perfume, the stage lights still warm, casting long shadows. Dwayne, towering at 6 feet 5 inches, stayed near the front, his black hoodie doing little to mask his presence. Whispers followed him, "That's The Rock." But his focus was Tiana, who was still on stage, laughing with a cluster of performers. Her sparkly blue dress caught the light, her earlier nerves replaced by a glow that made Dwayne's chest ache with pride. Tiana spotted him and waved, her smile wide, her mic finally unclipped and dangling from her dress. She hopped off the stage, weaving through the crowd to reach him. "Dad, did you see the finale? We all sang together," she said, her voice bubbling with excitement. Dwayne laughed, crouching to her level, his massive hands gentle on her shoulders. "See it? I felt it, Tia. You were the heart of that song." She grinned, then hugged him, her arms barely circling his torso. "Thanks for helping me," she mumbled into his hoodie. He hugged her back, careful not to squeeze too hard. "Always, superstar." The moment was perfect, but Dwayne knew it was fragile. He'd seen how Tiana's freeze on stage had shaken her, how her doubt had lingered backstage. She was 10, brave but still learning to trust her own strength. Tonight wasn't just about a talent show, it was about showing her she could face fear and come out stronger. He stood, taking her hand, and glanced at Ms. Rivera, the music teacher, who was herding kids for a group photo. "One SEC, Ms. R," Dwayne called, his voice carrying. "Mind if I steal Tia for a bit?" The teacher smiled, waving them off. "She's all yours, Mr. Johnson." Dwayne led Tiana to a quieter corner of the auditorium, near the exit where the noise of the crowd dulled. The floor was littered with programs and a stray glow stick from the juggling act. He sat on a folding chair, which groaned under his weight, and pulled another close for Tiana. "All right, kid," he said, his tone warm but serious. "You nailed it tonight. But I want to hear what's going on in here." He tapped his temple, then pointed to hers. Tiana frowned, confused. "What do you mean?" "You froze up out there," he said, not sugarcoating it. "Happens to everyone, me, too, back in the ring, on set, you name it. But you didn't quit. You came back. I want to know what you're feeling about it." Tiana looked at her sneakers, her fingers twisting the hem of her dress. "I was scared," she admitted, her voice small. "I thought everyone would laugh. And when I forgot the words, I wanted to run off." Dwayne nodded, listening, his eyes steady. "But you didn't run. You stayed. That's the real win, Tia." She looked up, her brown eyes searching his. "But what if it happens again? Like, at the next show or something?" Dwayne leaned forward, his elbows on his knees. "It might. And that's okay. The trick is knowing it's not about being perfect, it's about showing up. You showed up tonight, and look what happened." He gestured to the auditorium, where kids were still buzzing, parents swapping videos. "You made this place light up." Tiana bit her lip, processing. Dwayne knew she needed more than words. He'd learned that in his own life, talk was cheap without action. "Tell you what," he said, pulling out his phone. "Let's make a deal. You keep singing, keep performing, and I'll be there, every time I can. But you gotta promise me something." Tiana raised an eyebrow, curious. "What?" Dwayne grinned. "You gotta keep practicing, even when it's hard. And when you feel like freezing, you picture me out there, cheering like a goof. Deal?" Tiana giggled, nodding. "Deal." He opened his phone's camera, switching to video. "Alright, let's seal it. Sing one line from your song, right now, just for me." Tiana's eyes widened, her head shaking. "Dad, here? People are around." Dwayne chuckled, his laugh deep. "Exactly. No stage, no mic, just you. Show me you can do it anywhere." She hesitated, then took a breath, her voice soft but clear as she sang a line from her ballad, the notes steady despite her nerves. Dwayne recorded, his grin wide. "That's my girl. Save that one for the vault." Tiana laughed, her confidence creeping back. Dwayne pocketed his phone, then stood, offering his hand. "Come on, let's get that group photo. Your fans are waiting." She rolled her eyes but took his hand, skipping beside him as they rejoined the crowd. Ms. Rivera was lining up the performers on stage, kids jostling for position. Tiana slipped into the group, standing tall, her smile brighter than before. Dwayne stepped back, letting her have the moment, but his eyes never left her. The photo was a mess, kids making faces, a boy dropping his prop sword, but Tiana stood out, her head high, her dress sparkling. Parents snapped their own pictures, and a few approached Dwayne, thanking him for his stage moment with Tiana. "You made her night," a mom said, her phone still out. Dwayne waved it off. "She made mine." He didn't want the spotlight, but he couldn't help noticing the videos already circulating, clips of him singing with Tiana, the crowd's cheers. Let them post, he thought. If it showed Tiana's strength, it was worth it. After the photo, Tiana ran back to him, holding a paper crown a classmate had made during the show. "Look, they gave me this," she said, plopping it on her head. Dwayne laughed, adjusting it so it didn't slip. "Royalty, huh? Fits you." He glanced at the clock, past Tiana's bedtime, and his phone buzzed with messages from his team about tomorrow's gym session, a script read, a charity event. He'd deal with it later. Tonight was hers. As they headed to the parking lot, the LA night cool against their skin, Tiana chattered about the show, the juggler's fumble, the violin kid's squeaky notes, the dance group's glitter explosion. Dwayne listened, his hand on her shoulder, the city's hum a backdrop. "You gonna do it again next year?" he asked, unlocking his truck. Tiana climbed in, buckling her seatbelt. "Maybe. If you're there." Dwayne slid into the driver's seat, his smile soft. "Wouldn't miss it, Tia." On the drive home, Tiana fell quiet, her crown tilted, her eyes heavy. Dwayne kept the radio off, letting the silence settle. He thought about her freeze, her comeback, her laugh backstage. He'd given her a push tonight, but she'd taken the leap. That was the real victory, not the applause, not the videos, but the spark in her eyes when she realized she could do it. He pulled into their driveway, the house dark except for a porch light. Tiana stirred, yawning. "Dad?" she mumbled. "Yeah," he said, turning off the engine. "You're kinda cool," she said, half asleep. Dwayne chuckled, his heart full. "You're cooler, kid." He carried her inside, her crown slipping, her dreams already carrying her to the next stage. He'd be there, every step, making sure she knew she could conquer anything. The dashboard clock read 10:17 p.m., late for a school night. Dwayne kept the radio off, Tiana's soft snores the only sound. Her sparkly dress was crumpled, her hands clutching the crown a classmate had given her. He smiled, his eyes flicking between her and the road. Tonight, she'd faced a crowd, choked, and come back swinging. That was his girl, tough, like him, but with a heart that shone brighter than any spotlight. At home, he carried her inside, her crown slipping as he laid her on her bed. He tucked her in, leaving the crown on her nightstand beside a sketchbook she loved. Downstairs, he grabbed a water, his mind still on the show. His phone buzzed, texts from his team about a morning gym session, a script deadline. He'd handle it later. Tonight was about Tiana, and he wasn't done yet. He sat at the kitchen counter, pulling up the video he'd recorded backstage, Tiana singing a line, her voice shaky but clear. He smiled, saving it, then texted his assistant, "Find a vocal coach for Tia. Someone good, local, patient." Tiana had talent, but more than that, she had grit. A coach could help her harness it, make performing feel like home. The next morning, Tiana bounded into the kitchen, her crown back on. "Dad, everyone's talking about the show," she said, showing him her phone. Classmates had posted clips, her solo, their duet, the finale. "They think you're cool," she teased. Dwayne laughed, flipping a pancake. "Me? You're the star." He slid her a plate, then sat across from her. "You wanna do it again? Another show?" Tiana paused, fork midair. "Maybe. If I don't freeze." Dwayne leaned in. "You won't. And if you do, you know how to come back. Plus, I got a surprise." Her eyes lit up. "What?" He grinned. "Found you a vocal coach. You practice, you keep singing, and I'll be at every show I can." Tiana squealed, hugging him. "Deal." Dwayne hugged back, knowing this was just the start. She'd face bigger stages, bigger fears, but he'd be there, her biggest fan, every step.